right. I didn't have to be prompted of when to come back up on stage this time. I'm pretty happy about that. Bless you and good morning. If you're watching us at our 8 or 10 or 12 o'clock watch parties and our 8 a.m. live party, welcome. Bless you. Welcome to the Palmdale Vineyard Weekend Service. And I'm going to share a couple of announcements. Again, my name is David Swift. I'm the lead pastor here. And a couple really great things coming up. If you're watching this at the 8 o'clock service, I want to let you know at 10 a.m. in front of our sanctuary, which is at 509 East Palmdale Boulevard, we were going to have a drive-in communion service. That's in lieu of what we're already doing in the service right here, right now, which we've already done. But at 10 a.m., again, if you're at the 8 a.m. Premium Live, you can join us here at 10 a.m. in our parking lot, and we're going to do a communion service. We're going to have 3 songs of worship. We're going to share in communion. I'm going to give a brief message of what Aiesha shares with us here today. So if you missed that message either at the 8, you can also watch Aiesha's. I would encourage you to watch hers at 12 o'clock. But we're going to be here in the parking lot, tuning our radios into 104.5 and sharing some time. We talked about doing this when we began moving into quarantine, that if the quarantine went too far, which it has gone well beyond, I think, any of us thought it would, that we would do this, that we'd find a time to gather, and we'd do that on Communion Sunday. So that's not just something we've enacted, it's something we've been planning. We just wanted to see what would happen and how we could make that happen. And I just want to give you a heads up, we're going to be looking for spaces that we can be doing in-person services, whether that's out in a park, because we're not able to do it here in our parking lot. Other locations with other churches was not going to be able to happen. So we're looking at doing it in a park. We're going to be giving you information as that comes up. And for those of you who don't know our roots, we spent 4.5 months of our first year at Corson Park doing services every single weekend, and we grew. And so I think we would be irresponsible not to take advantage of the opportunity while the weather is still good for us to come together and share in-person services. We'll make more announcements about that as that happens and where those locations will be, so stay tuned to our Thursday update. I do also want to let you know that Women's Ministry is launching their small group, their life group, their small group services. I don't know what services, what is it? Well, Bible study. Thank you. That was the word. Bible study I was looking for. They had the meet and greet yesterday, and they're going to be doing that on Tuesdays at 6:30 at different locations. But connect on the women's Facebook page. Check it out. Men's ministry is going on, and I'm going to be done. I'm going to call up. Let me set this up a little bit. If you don't know, Aiesha Sutton is our kids ministry director. And she has been putting things together. Here's another plug. Just throw it out there. You need to jump into our Instagram. You need to jump into our kids, especially if you have kids that are in 4th grade or below and down to infants. She has a great program that connects your kids to the messages that we're sharing here together every weekend and enable your kids to stay connected to their faith. It's so easy in these times for us to just drift off and drift away from what we know and what we desire and what we believe to be sacred. So check that out. And I am so grateful that she said yes, that she is being very obedient and loving. And I'm so grateful that she said yes when we asked her if she would come and give us this message or participate in our service. So without any further ado, bless you, Aiesha Sutton.
Okay, hi. Before we get started, though, I need all of you guys to open your chats because our youth group is joining us for this message as well. So open your chats, put a heart in there for youth, our PV youth group, and show them how much you love them. I don't care if it's a pink heart, a purple heart, a red heart. Put your favorite color heart in there, but send a heart out for our youth group that's joining us. Send them a wave. Let them know that you are thinking of them and that you love them. So Yes, so I am the children's ministry director here at Palmdale Vineyard, and I have to tell you that this was not something that was actually something I prayed for or something that I thought was going to happen. Um, for some of you guys that know me, I did was a part of children's ministry in Lancaster, and my husband got a job offer in Houston, Texas, so we left. And unfortunately, because of his mom's health, we had to move back. And that first week that I was registering the kids for school and everything, you guys have a weird school system now that I've been to Texas. I'm just saying. The times that we get out of school is just odd. But I was picking up my daughter from high school, and I'm parked on the side, and I see this car drive by, late, by the way, looking for parking so that they could pick up their kid. And I looked out, and I see our pastor, David Swift. I see him in the car. And I was like, oh my gosh. I looked at my time, and I'm like, I got time. Got out of the car and went looking for him. Like, I went down the block looking for him and knocked on the window, and he looked out the window, and he was shocked to see me. And I think that honestly is what started me down this road of children's ministry director, which of course I wasn't expecting. But with that said, my topic today it's really deep. It's vulnerable beyond measure. You have to be vulnerable to even understand or accept some of the things that I'm saying. So I'm giving you a precursor. That is what we're going to talk about today. And I think because I'm so used to children's ministry, and because of the fact that we think a little bit more simply in children's ministry than you guys do as adults, we're going to go back to our basics. We are going to go back to our roots, which is what David brought up earlier. And I thought, oh my gosh, Lord, this is perfect, because he's talking about going back to where we all started. And I think that that's important in our faith. Regardless of how old we are, I think that we need to actually remember we have to go back to our basics. We have to be reminded and have that refresher of what this is all about and what the point of this is. A few weeks ago, when David and I were talking, the message was so different, like completely different. You know, I was bringing in like quotes that I had read, and like my rejection story and someone else's, and it's all gone now. I was really excited about the topic. I mean, I wrote days and days of notes, and I had ideas and this and that. I had I want to say 13 pages front and back of notes. I had Post-it notes, I had bubble clouds, I had arrows. It was a mess. But I knew what I was trying to say because it just made sense to me. This is how my brain works. And talking to my husband about it, when I first told him, I said, hey, I need you to take Saturday off. And he's like, what Saturday? And I said, I need the Saturday that I'm speaking at church. And he's like, what? And he got this big grin on his face. Like his whole face lit up, and it was just like, I knew in that moment that I could do this just because I saw that confidence and excitement from him. And I have to tell you, this is a bad wife thing. He's not the first person I told. The first person I told was actually my sister, Michelle. She was the first person I told because I knew that my husband was working and he wasn't going to answer the phone. And she was excited for me, and it was great, but it was over the phone. But when I saw his face and that excitement in his face, I was like, okay, I got this. I don't know what I'm talking about because I got 13 pages of notes, but I can do this, The confidence that he had in me was the same confidence I came to realize later that it's the same confidence the Lord has in me. And I'm like, wow, Priscilla sings it like almost every other weekend. His love never fails. He is not going to leave me. I can do this because he believes in me. And I got this. So my message is completely different. Bear with me while we get through it because we're going back to the basics. And I think the basics are important. And hello, I'm children's ministry. That's what we talk about is basics. So, cornerstone. We are talking about the cornerstone. And I already know that you guys know what a cornerstone is. But we're going to talk about Cornerstone. We're going to talk about our identity. We're going to talk about being rejected, and we're going to talk about acceptance. That's what I'm saying. It's deep. This is a lot. But I honestly think that if we go back to our basics, especially now during this outbreak and the quarantine, I think that once this is over, we are going to be so empowered and we are going to feel the grace and the love of God once this is over. And we are going to be able to step out of our door and we are going to be able to love and disciple. Those are the two main things I really need you guys to get out of this whole message. When we are done with coronavirus, our foundation is going to be so strong and sturdy that we are going to be able to love and gather people and disciple them, because that is what we are called to do. All right, so let's jump in. So, identity. I know you guys know what identity is, but again, like I said, we've got youth in here, so we're going to talk about identity. Identity is who we are. It's who we see ourselves to be. It's how the world sees us, which is really, really bad, but it's important to know what the definition of identity is. Now, the definition of identity of the earth is completely different than our definition of identity in Christ. And I think that that is a huge difference. And I think that people forget that. I think that people forget that I am a strong, mixed racial, married female with 3 kids. Like, okay, but when you strip all of that away, who am I? Who are you? Are you letting the world define who your identity is, or are you letting God define who your identity is? That's a big deal. That's important. We have to know that difference. And the only way to find our identity in Christ is to build our foundation on that, right? We have to delve into our Bible. We have to pray. We have to know who He is, because He calls us to be who we are and how He sees us to be. And if we can't see ourselves how God sees us to be, then it's not going to work. You know, we're constantly going to be seeking those earthly approvals, those earthly needs, those earthly desires, when in actuality, we're going to find joy when we actually see ourselves how God sees us to be. And I think that's important. Cornerstone. Wow. Okay. So basically the cornerstone, you guys know what this is. It's the first stone laid in a foundation. And every single stone after that is laid in reference to that first stone laid, that cornerstone. And a lot of us, when we're raised raised not in Jesus, our cornerstone, we don't know what it is. We don't know where we lie. We don't know how we're being built. And I think that once we realize, we have that light bulb moment, that epiphany moment of, wow, Jesus is where I should have started. Let me start over. Jesus is where I should have started. Jesus is where I need to build my foundation. And I have notes, but I am jumping all over on my slides, I'm sure. And so Chris is probably thinking in the back, oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. Or Michael, just like, this girl is a leapfrogger. I am a leapfrogger. I don't know if you guys know what a leapfrogger is, but I'm a leapfrogger. And husbands, if you have a wife out there that starts a conversation and then jumps to something else and you're trying to figure out what we're talking about now, that is me. So I apologize. But I wanted to say that Paul reminds us that through the blood of Jesus, we are no longer separated people. We are one people, and we have to remember that. And that's something that we're going to just keep going back to throughout this, that we are one people, but we're built on the cornerstone of Jesus, and then the foundation above that is the lessons of the apostles in our Bible. Like, that's where we're at. Jesus, apostles, us. We got this, right? We have to build our foundation. But in order to build our foundation, we have to dig deep. We have to dig deeply, people, because the prayers that we're asking for and that communication, all we're going is up. But if our foundation can't support how high we'd like to go, we're just going to topple. So we really, really need to make sure that everything starts with Jesus. And then on top of that, we've got to dig into our Bibles. And if you guys don't have a Bible, we will give you one. We love to give them away. If you want more explanations and you read a passage, send us an email. We will give you what we're thinking, where our mindset is going on this. We've got resources. Right Now Media is amazing. While you're digging in your garden or cleaning the dishes, you can listen to Right Now Media and go through these Bible studies and dig deeper. So it's there. The resources are there, and we want to help you with that. So don't say, well, coronavirus, I'm quarantined, I need that connection, I can't dig deeper. Yes, you can. You can, because we can help you, and we want to help you. So just do it. Dig deeper. We can do this. Okay. With all of that said, rejection. Rejection is hard, and every single person out there has been rejected. It could be a red pen of rejection that the teachers write on that paper that you really worked hard on. Sorry, teachers, but that still sits with me, just saying. It could be asking someone out on a date and having the no. It could be like my rejection story, where you build everything around that rejection. Military brat, my mom, military. And I never really thought much about my identity when I was a kid. I never really related to that word. Athletic, liked to go outside, hang out with everybody, liked everybody liked me. That was just who I was. Didn't really boil that down to as this is how I identify. And my 16 years old is when I got my first rejection that really just sat with me as this is me being rejected. And my mom was a single mom, 3 kids. We moved around a lot being in the military. And we were in Alamogordo, New Mexico, Holloman Air Force Base, whoop, whoop. And Saturday mornings for us were chore day. My mom ran a tight ship. This is how it had to be done. And it was chore day. So she went out into the store, and me and my sisters are cleaning the house, loud music, stereo system. I know you teenagers don't know what a stereo system is, but I mean like albums and double cassettes and knobs everywhere, stereo system. And the phone rings, and I go to answer the phone, and Sutton not a Sutton. I'm so used to being a Sutton. Last name, residence, how can I help you? And they asked for my mom. And, hey, is Helen there? Some guy on the phone. And I'm thinking, no, she's busy at the moment. Can I take a message? And he's like, yeah, I got these awesome tickets to an Earth, Wind, and Fire reunion, and I would like to go. And I'm like, Earth, Wind, and Fire? What? I know. I know who they are now, but at 16, I did not. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll take the message and your name. And he's like, yeah, this is Walter, and then gives the phone number. So my mom gets home, and I, tell her about the phone call, and I'm thinking, I probably did some snarky teenage comment, giving her a hard time about some guy calling for her. And I was like, give her the message, and she's like, no, I really have no desire to go out with your dad. And I'm like, what? I just talked to my dad on the phone. I had no idea, had no clue. But to me, I'm just thinking, okay, that's normal. I didn't know my dad. I didn't know who he was. He was never in my life. No big deal. Never saw a picture. I could pass him on the street and not even know who he is. Didn't bother me. I'm like, okay. Bothered my sister, let me tell you. But didn't bother me. And then, we get into conversation, and I asked her, I'm like, so why is he not here? Like, why is Walter, because why am I going to call him dad? I don't call him dad. Why is Walter not here? Why did he decide not to be here? And she I love my mom. But she's very straightforward, military, used to working with a bunch of men. And she said, she's very, very blunt, very blunt. She's like, well, he loves me, loved our life together, being married, but he didn't really see the family thing. He didn't want kids. He thought he wanted kids, but then when you guys came around and took away, all of my time from him, he was done. So I told him, make a decision. You choose us as a family, or you just got to go, because I'm not leaving my kids. And she's like, I chose y'all, and he didn't. And I'm like, dang, now I can say that. But at 16, that's hard to hear, You don't know who I am. You have no idea what I can become or who I can be. So how can you reject me? So this is what I'm thinking at 16. How can you reject me when I didn't even know how amazing I was going to be? Because I am amazing. Just saying. So I have no idea, And that was really hard for me later. And I didn't realize it was going to be hard for me later until it was hard for me later. Because when I decided that I was no longer going to be Catholic, I wanted to be Christian, my mom did not take that well. 3 years of not talking to me, just saying. But it was hard for me because I could not understand the concept that a heavenly Father who knows me better than myself could love me when my own biological earthly father could not. That is his job. He's supposed to accept me. He's supposed to love me. How can God love me if my own dad can't love me? That concept was so hard for me to grasp. It took work. It's still taking work. But it's that rejection that hits somewhere deep that you don't even know and when it's going to affect you. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know if my dad was Christian or not, but that rejection from him was tough. So we as Christians rejecting others and then using God as our excuse, that's rough. That's hard. And all of those rejections, all of the rejections and the feelings that we have, it's based on our expectations of a situation or of a person. And we need to let those go. And that's kind of where my mind frame is at with this rejection topic, because I don't want to say rejection again. I don't like the word. It hurts, actually. So we're going to talk about acceptance of everyone and how to do that. And yeah, some of these ideas might be a little basic, and you're like, I got this already. But I'm hoping that through this conversation that acceptance with the way that I'm suggesting we do it would be a little bit easier for you in a day-to-day life, okay? So I'm hitting pause, I'm hitting reset. This is our reset for COVID-19. We are getting back to our foundation. We are starting fresh. We are going to build our foundation in such a way that when we do go out, that we are able to accept others regardless of any of their, what Paul calls them, debatable matters. Because I'm not going to list them because you guys already know what they are. You know what they are to you. And originally I was going to talk about, let's separate politics from this, and let's separate, the way expectations of how we should dress to church. And those are all things that we don't really need to pay attention to. Paul actually says this so well. I don't know where, because I've totally gone off my notes. But Paul does talk about in 1 Corinthians somewhere that we need to, here we go. So it's actually Romans 14:22. He said, keep it between yourself and God. If you can't get past someone liking pineapple on their pizza, or not doing communion every week, or what we should be singing, there's too much drums and too much bass in worship, if you can't get past that, keep it between you and God, because he'll listen to you, because everyone else is feeling that you're judging them. Keep it to yourself. Keep it between you and God, and we can move forward. And I think that our debatable matters, I'm such an easygoing person. Like, I just kind of let things roll off my chest and, roll off my back, and okay, that's fine. That's how you feel. I get that. But I know that not everybody is like that. So we're gonna work on that together. So in your notes, we're going to start talking about like our bullet points. And thank you for your grace during my message, because I would like to just have a conversation with you instead of actually get up here and have a message. So I thank you for your grace while we go through these. Our big point is, how do we actively bypass our earthly identity and seek a Christ-like acceptance of others? Like, that's what we need to move towards. We need to work on our hearts so that we can be Christ-like and accept everyone, even if we don't agree on things, because we're not going to agree. Michael talked about it before. We are going to be divided. It's just how we are, that we have different ideas because we're all actually trying to further the kingdom here in a different way. Because I can tell you right now, my gifts are not the same as your gifts. And I know that because y'all don't come and volunteer in children's ministry. Shameless plug, let me tell you. So, I think one of the ways that we can bypass our earthly identities and actually be a little uncomfortable, work outside of ourselves, is to slow down. We are in such a world that is constantly move from this time to this time to this time. And it's even before COVID. Oh my gosh. Before this, we were, okay, if I don't hit the freeway at exactly 5:15, I am going to be stuck in traffic. I'm going to be eating breakfast, in the car, putting on my makeup, listening to this, going over it's a mess. Like, we are just constantly go. And I can tell you, I've got 3 kids. So I understand not the ability to slow down, because I need to slow down. And my husband tells me often, stop trying to multitask. And I'm like, I'm a female, I multitask. This is what I do. And he's like, men don't multitask because we put our focus and attention on one thing. And then once that one thing is done, then we move on to something else. And I'm like, differences between men and women, I understand. But I don't know how. I don't know how to slow down. And I think that with COVID, it has really made me prioritize or reprioritize the things that I need to focus on. And I think that if we slow down, that this is what it's going to allow us to do. We're going to be able to slow down. It's not just us. It's also with other people. Being able to slow down allows us to react or respond. And there's a difference between react and respond. And I think that's super important. And I will tell you why. My daughter, Hannah, and she already knows that I'm talking about her, so we're good. But when all of the protests started, as a teenager, they have their social media, so they're constantly being fed. And it's like 15-minute clips, 210 characters, now with TikTok, I don't even know how long TikTok is. It's like 30 seconds or something. It's like, how do you take an important topic like the protests or, the women's equality, just name your topic. How do you take these important topics and put them in a 15-minute clip or 210 words? Like, these are things that we have been debating about, protesting about, fighting about, arguing about, taking to Congress for years. And if it takes years, how in the world can we talk about it in 15 minutes? Like, I don't understand that. But teenagers are constantly being fed this information, and it's opinions, and they're taking them as facts. And that's where we're getting, it's a problem. So Hannah, I think, for a week straight would come downstairs. I wouldn't even get a good morning anymore. Not even a good morning. It's a guess what happened now? Oh my gosh, did you see? And she is like ranting and angry. And it's just, I know social media was not designed to make our teenagers angry, but it is making them angry. And it's so, I think it was just mind-blowing and eye-opening. And I mean, for a week, I was afraid that neighbors were gonna walk by the house and like hear us screaming and yelling at each other because our house had just erupted. Because teenagers don't know that they're supposed to respond. They're reacting, and that's all she was doing was reacting. And it was just, and it was really loud at the house, the arguing, because my husband and I were trying to get her to slow down. We were trying to get her to pause and think things through. Ask questions. And it's something that we learn as adults. You have to ask questions. We have to research. We have to figure things out. But she didn't know to do that. And honestly, I don't think it dawned on me that we had to teach her that. You know, we were always like, well, what do you know? And let's figure this out and let's look at it more and let's research. But the way that social media is feeding them, they're reacting and not responding. And a lot of the time when we react to a post on Facebook or something being done on Instagram or a tweet, we just automatically want to react. And by reacting later on, we're like, wow, I really shouldn't have done that. That was not very Christ-like. That was not very Christian. I wish I could delete it or take it back. That's what reacting does. It makes you regret what you've said and you want to take it back. But responding takes time. Responding is allowing us to seek the knowledge from the place that we should have sought it from in the first place before we said something. You know, it's very, very important that we respond instead of react. Also with slowing down, let me tell you, when we slow down, we're actually able to hear when God is talking to us. Epiphany, right? We're so busy and we're so moving and we're not patient enough to wait for God to actually respond. I'm like, responding takes time. You know, he's got his fingers in so many things. He's got to manipulate some things to get us to where we need to be. That takes some time, because let me tell you, I am one stubborn person. I do not want to do what I'm asked to do or called to do sometimes. But I've noticed that with COVID, it's really made me slow down. I've really like dug into my Bible deeper and realized, oh, that was my decision. That wasn't God telling me to make that decision. I wasn't patient enough. I should have waited. And it's really, really, really important. So I have to tell you, James kind of kicked my butt when I read this message in the Bible, this passage, because James was like, hello, here you are, light bulb, you're not listening to me, so I'm going to slap you in the face with it. That's what I felt like with James. I don't know if anyone else feels like that with James, but I feel like that. So James says, my dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. Right? Slow down. Respond and not react. Take your time. Seek God. Because when you don't make God look good. You don't make yourself look good. And then people start to question you, right? Wow, this person said they're a Christian? How in the world did that come out of their mouth? We have to slow down. We have to respond and not react. Okay, secondly, this one's very hard for me. We have to listen with patience. Oh, listen with patience and empathy. Oh my gosh. You know, I think it was a couple weeks ago on the Tuesday. It was so funny, the Tuesday question and answer. If you guys do not participate in that, you really should, because you are really able to start asking questions like, okay, I have this question. Why do you think we give you guys notes? Write your questions down. Just write your questions down and be like, I don't understand this. She said this, but I totally got this from it, What are you thinking, David? How does this work, David? And he'll help you. And I have to tell you, a couple Tuesdays ago, we were talking, and I think it was David Mybell. Did I say his name right? I think he brought it up, and he was talking about empathy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so my message. We're so on the same page. Because when we slow down and we listen with patience, we are allowing someone to actually speak. Stop trying to solve my problem before I tell you what my problem is. Let me tell you. And I'm a storyteller, so I like to tell my story. Everybody likes to tell their story, And isn't that what, that's how we disciple, isn't it? We tell our story. We talk about how God has done amazing things in our lives. And sometimes the blessings that I've gotten, I didn't realize they were blessings until I told my story to someone else. Right? God is amazing. Amen. He is just amazing. Sorry, I have to take that pause because he's amazing. A while ago, I used to work at a call center. Ooh, you want to learn some patience. Work at a call center. You are constantly getting phone calls about people being angry about something. More than likely, most of the time it's, of course, misunderstanding, but they're not talking to you saying, hey, can you help me out? I have a question about this. No, they're called to yell at you because you made a mistake and they need you to fix it. And it has been made their life inconvenient, And it's very hard to just sit there and listen to someone yell at you, especially if they call you bad words. And I don't use bad words, so it's really hard to have someone and not feel attacked, not have it feel personal. But I used to get in trouble all the time at this job because we had a call quota. We have to, make this many calls. You have to have answer this many calls. You have to respond to this many people. You need to keep moving that forward. We need to clear out the queue and just move them out, And your bonuses at the end of the month were based on this. Let me tell you, I barely got a bonus because I listened. I'm like, what is it okay, I understand. And I would take notes while I'm talking to them, and I would repeat things back to them. Oh, so you're saying this happened. And they're like, yes, exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And it was kind of amazing because we had something called an escalation queue. When it was just too bad and they wanted a supervisor, you were supposed to send that call to someone else. The higher the numbers of calls you sent to escalation queue, the less of a bonus you got too. Let me tell you, in, the 5 or 6 years that I was there, I had maybe 10 calls go to escalation queue because I listened, took notes, I paid attention, and I let them vent because a lot of time we don't want to listen to somebody vent. But it's not just about angry things. It's also about listening to someone share their story. Because sharing their story is important, and it makes them feel valued, it makes them feel heard, and it makes you be able to step into their shoes and understand where they're coming from and maybe why they're debatable matters they got those ideas in the first place. And I think that helps you when you listen with patience and empathy. It helps you find a common ground. And a common ground to start from when you disciple is important. Just saying. Okay, so number 3, truth with grace. Truth with grace is hard. We're so ready to tell our opinions and our truth and why you're wrong and why I'm right and point fingers. And I'll tell you right now, we tell our children all the time, don't point your finger because it's not nice. So if we practice truth with grace, then I think we will be able to also do what God calls us to do, which is love and disciple. Jesus did it. He did it in the temple with the adulterous woman, Truth. I know what you did. I understand what you did. Grace, don't do it again, Truth with grace. Truth with grace is hard. especially as a parent. Oh, I am a straightforward parent as well because I got it from my mom, and I really try not to. But man, my kids are like, "Ooh, Mom, that was harsh," and I'm like, "I'm sorry. I do it out of love. I do it out of love. Give me grace." Like, I do it out of love. I do. I think, yeah, truth with grace. It's definitely hard, but I want you guys to know that in 1 Corinthians 2:13, it says, "This is what we speak, not in words taught us by wisdom, but in words taught by the Spirit, expressing spiritual truths in spiritual words." Dang, that's good, right? Truth with grace, because we're being led by the Spirit, right? I think, yeah, truth with grace is important. And we all need grace, let me tell you. And I'm going to say thank you for your grace again with my message. I think the last one that's super, super important to me, and I totally have a shameless plug here, so pay attention. Love is a verb. Yes, love is a verb, but love as a verb is so important. I'm telling you right now, guys, I was working on my message, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to use this one, but I talked to someone, and they were asking me to pray for another church because their youth are having a really hard time. And it really made me think about, like, our youth. You know, why are they having a hard time right now? Like, why is youth not just youth group in church, I just mean youth in general, you know? And I want to say it's because they don't feel loved. And that's our job, to love on them. And this is my shameless plug. Y'all need to join something within the church. You need to join it. Youth group, we need help. You know, I am a little, like, since COVID, I have not participated in youth group. I haven't. I have reasons. I have, you know, my son that I need to really think about and be conscious of. But before that, I was doing youth group, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And I think that you want to learn some love and patience and grace, join youth group. Join children's ministry, because they will teach you love with grace. They will tell you the truth, and it's not a cruelty, it's just honesty. And it's something you were already knowing about yourself that you just did not even want to realize. I'm just saying. But join children's or youth, because they will teach you all of these things, because you are not going to be stuck all in yourself. You are going to have to be pulled out of yourself, out of your comfort zone, and rely on God to get through children's ministry. Changing diapers, crying kids, crawling on your lap, pulling your hair. I don't even know how many times I've come home with glitter in places and, you know, sticky hair. Like, I can't even tell you. But it's the love of a child or a teenager. Oh my gosh. That will bring you such reward, and you will feel God's love there, because they are so true and honest to you. They really are. And it's so important that you get involved, because the only way you are going to love as a verb is by getting involved, getting out of yourself and getting into God's kingdom, because that's what you're supposed to do. And it's the easiest way to do it, is to get involved. And I'm telling you, you don't have to come to children's and change a diaper. We're not going to put you in a place that you are uncomfortable. We are going to stretch your vulnerability and make you a little vulnerable, but we're not going to make you do things that you don't feel comfortable doing. And then, you know what? Later on, you're going to beg to do those things, because you're actually going to like it. You're going to feel so rewarded and so moved and feeling God's love every day as soon as you walk into that room and you see the children or even the teenager give you a high five and be like, "Hey, how was your week? I couldn't wait to see you again." You know? Like, getting involved makes you get out of yourself. And that's what we need to do, especially now. We have used COVID-19 as our excuse to not do anything. This is your restart. Stop not doing something and join something. And you know what? You could do it from the luxury of your home. You can call up women's ministry and say, how can I help, but I don't want to go out. Regina, she will give you something to cut, let me tell you. She will give you a delivery list that you can go and love on someone else, and you don't have to have any contact with someone. Kate, she will say, hey, we need food. Bring food. Our teenagers would love the food. Children's ministry, I would love for you guys to put some stickers on some things. These are simple, easy, little things that you can start with to love as a verb. It's not hard. So stop using COVID-19 and start digging in deep and stop using it as your excuse, because that's what we're doing. We're using it as our excuse. And those of us that are borderline on where we were going to be with church or not with church, you're using this as your excuse to leave. And that's where you're at. But we will keep praying for you because we want you to come back. Because we want you here. We want to be involved in your lives. We want to help you disciple because it helps us. And it does what we're supposed to do, which is put love into action, love and disciple. So this message probably, for some of you guys, was not what you were looking for. And you're probably thinking, gosh, these are easy, Slow down, listen with patience and empathy, love with patience and grace, love as a verb. These are all simple things, right? And you're like, this means nothing to me. So before I close, let me ask you, if you are living your life, and this is so easy and it doesn't pertain to you, ask yourself if you are living your life as what Colossians 3:12 through 14 says. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. So if none of the things I said you think pertain to you, are you living your life like that? And if you're not, then I'm going to add a little challenge. I know January gave you guys one last week, but I'm going to add a challenge. Just pick one. Start with one. Slow down. Okay, yes. Listen with patience and empathy. Just pick one and add that on top of your foundation. And once you move through that, the other ones will slowly come. And get involved. We need you. All of us. And it doesn't have to be here. I know some of you guys are watching from another state, but get involved. Share the love that God has given you with other people, because that's what he needs you to do. And that's the only way we're going to further his kingdom. So let's pray. Oh, Father God, thank you. Thank you for your continued love and grace, because you've seen my day. I need it, Lord. Daily, weekly, by every second, I need your love and grace. Just thank you for your words today. Thank you for trusting me to share your words with others. And Lord, I just pray that we just reach one person, because that's all we need. That's our goal, just to reach one, Lord. Allow us to continue to love the way that you have loved us. Allow us to every single day, every single moment, think about what we say. Listen with patience and grace and empathy. Let us continue to call on you in our time of need. In your heavenly name, amen. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.